Heather, are you ready? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and get started then. This is probably going to be the last time we get to read this, unless something else happens. But this meeting is being held pursuant to the Executive Order 78 of the Governor of the State of Tennessee. As such, all members of the board must be able to hear me and each other. We will go ahead and take roll now. We'll start with the City of Brentwood. Kirk Bednar.
Here.
Chief Hughes. Chief Hughes. I see Chief, but I can't. He must not be able to hear me. Maybe he's going to dial in. I'll come back to Chief Hughes. Chief Goss.
Here.
Thank you. City of Franklin, Eric Stuckey.
Here.
Chief Faulkner.
I'm here.
Thank you. Chief Johnson.
Here.
Williamson County, is the sheriff on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Sheriff, thank you. I'm present and I do not see Mary Anderson. All right, we'll go back to Chief Hughes. Can you hear me now?
Lights on, nobody's home.
Yeah, John Allman, can you help him?
Welcome to WebEx.
There are certain things that may be beyond help. Chef, can you hear us?
I can't say I'm not enjoying this.
Enter your attendee ID number, followed by pound.
He's actually going to have to jump off fairly quickly. He's getting his bronze lion delivered today to the new headquarters, so he's got more important things to do.
Kirk, only bronze? Come on now.
Well, you know, we had to raise it with private funds, so we can only get 45,000. I think he raised $45,000 in about a week, so I'll give him credit for that.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm right here, so you quit talking about me now. I can hear.
All right, we got you on the roll.
I am going to cut out here in just a few minutes, so
Okay.
just for a couple of minutes.
All right. Thank you, Chief. We'll go ahead and get started. You should have received the minutes from December 4th. I don't know if everybody's had an opportunity to look at those, but if I could get those on the floor. They were included in the meeting invite from Jamie.
Move to approve.
Also move.
All right, so we got Chief Johnson motion and Sheriff second. Are there any corrections, deletions to the minutes? I do see one thing. I don't think I was at this meeting, and I'm on the, I'm showing as being present. I don't think I was there. I think I was out of the office that day.
Bill,
Yes.
it's Jamie. I was supposed to have, I think I did send out the January 22nd minutes.
Oh, I don't think has anybody seen those? Any of the board members?
I may
All
have
right.
sent out the wrong ones.
Okay,
check.
well, we'll sort that. I'll tell you what, we'll just set that aside, and at the next meeting, we'll probably have two meetings worth of minutes to approve. So we'll sort that out and bring it back to the next meeting if that's okay with the. All right.
Yeah, actually, I think she did include him on one of the meeting invites, but because we did not meet in February, if you recall. But if we want to wait and just deal with him next meeting, that's certainly probably fine.
Well, what's the wish of the board? We got a motion and a second on the floor. You want to wait? You want to withdraw that motion, Chief?
Yes, withdraw the motion.
You okay with that, Sheriff?
Yes, I'm good.
Thank you. We'll withdraw that and move on. All right, moving on to reports. Mr. Treasurer, Kirk Bednar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully everybody quickly gravitated to read the reports that were sent out by Amy, but just a brief overview. As you know, we don't have a lot of financial activity, but we did had made two payments in the last month. One was $7,500 for our audit payments and there was a letter, I think, that showed that the comptroller had acknowledged receipt of our audit. And then we made a payment, $1,460 for our surety bonds for our officers. From a revenue side of things, all the subscriber cities, Fairview, Nolensville, Spring Hill, I think are current through the first half of the year. And I think Amy just sent out the invoices for the third quarter of the fiscal year, first quarter of the calendar year for 2021. But everyone else is current up through the first half of the year. Otherwise, a little bit of interest accrued, and that's really it from a financial standpoint. Amy, anything else should have mentioned? Glad to answer any questions, and really Amy would be glad to answer any questions. But
Any questions on the financial report? Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, and thank you, Amy. Get motion on the floor to accept Treasurer's report as presented.
So move, Sheriff Rhodes.
Sheriff Rhodes, motion and second. Thank you, Chief. We'll go down the roll. Kirk Bednar,
aye.
Chief Hughes,
Aye.
Chief Goss,
Aye.
Eric Stuckey,
Aye.
Chief Faulkner,
Aye.
Chief Johnson,
Aye.
Sheriff Rhodes,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye, passed unanimously. All right, next on the agenda is the report of standing working groups. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Mike Proctor, Technical Working Group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met a couple times in the last couple of months, working on some proposals from the users group, and I need to get with Chief Elrod so we can get a email going back and forth to keep up with their requests, so we make sure we get them through the committee correctly. Some changes to Fairview Fire and a countywide push to or click to enter talk group that we're working on for the radio operated gates that are being installed. Another note, I guess, for everyone to know, during the MRAM committee, Nashville did mention that they are not looking to do any encryption right now. They can't push that cost right now into their budget. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Mike.
Unless Sean wants to give an update on the radio tower, portable tower.
It's ordered. There's nothing much more since the last update. It is ordered though.
Thank you. And for those of you that may not be aware, Williamson County is purchasing I think it's 75-foot mobile tower that will have a 6-channel trunking system on it, plus interoperability, repeaters and gateways and satellite and different pieces to that. And that will allow and I can't wait to try it out because it's going to be really great for the county and great for the state. If we were to lose a tower site somewhere, we can set this up. It won't give the exact same coverage, but it will connect right back into our existing radio system here in Davidson and Williamson County. So more information will be coming forth on that. Any questions for Mike? I do have an update on Sneed Road. I'm just waiting on Crown to verify that we can send the surveyor out to Sneed Road to survey the utility easement, and then we should be able to move forward. I don't see Jody or Paul Witten on here today. So no reports from Metro. We'll move on to the operational working group. Chief Elrod.
Not a whole lot to report. I have one request in from Spring Hill Fire Department for connectivity to Murray County 911. Also, understand waiting on a request from the Spring Hill Police Department for the same. Also been working with National Parks, kind of playing phone tag back and forth with them on some interoperability requests. Mike, I'll reach out to you on all of that here pretty quickly. So that's all I got, Mr. Bill.
Thank you, Chief. All right, any questions for Chief Elrod? All right, none seen. Thank you all for that work. We'll move on to unfinished business. Any unfinished business? I didn't have any on the agenda. All right, seeing none. New business. I did put on the agenda a product from Motorola called Smart Connect. I'm not sure if we've talked about that at all, but I'm going to turn the floor over to Mike to give us a presentation on that. Thank you.
So from the tech committee, we're trying to propose that we go ahead and purchase Smart Connect. Smart Connect give us a internet connectivity with our radio system. It requires a flash on all the radios that will not cost anything for the flash, but it does require a subscription per radio of $96 per year. What this will do will enable all the radios that have whatever talk groups on the radios will go through the internet via Wi-Fi. So if you enter a low coverage area, maybe schools or downtown Franklin high-rise areas, your radio will switch over in approximately 3 seconds to the Wi-Fi network, talk back to the radio system. You have full encryption all the way through the system. All channels that you have, you get all the features that we have. It just flows through the internet. And we're proposing that we use our technology credit to go ahead and purchase this and move forward with to add into our coverage ability for the radio system. I don't know if anybody has any questions about it or any details that they may need to ask.
I did send out this morning the actual proposal from Motorola. It describes exactly what the system does, the requirements. The cost related to Smart Connect is $49,034.40. I also sent out the current off the portal. I pulled the current technology credit line that should have been sent out of the PDF. We currently have $172,830 in our technology credit that could go towards the purchase of Smart Connect.
Hey, Mike or Bill, this is Kirk. Just trying to understand the pricing. So the 49,000 that's there on that proposal you sent, is that that's the one-time upfront cost, and then the $96 you mentioned, Mike, is that something that we all individually as jurisdictions would pay annually?
So the $96 is per radio annually, and you can do it in 1, 3 to 5 year increments. The 49,000 is for multiple firewalls and servers. So we'll have firewalls here at our location, firewalls in Nashville. So it will have redundancy through the system like we already have. This gives Nashville the capability to also utilize this system. So they've purchased items that we benefit from, and this is kind of a, we're purchasing stuff that benefits us and Nashville at the same time.
Yes, Davidson County purchased Critical Connect and is paying for that yearly. And then I talked with Jody about this, and he talked with the chair of MRAM, and they've had a conversation. They thought it was a pretty good, they'll be able to access this. We'll have equipment up there and here for redundancy. And then Critical Connect is the same way. There's equipment here and there's equipment in Nashville. And then each entity, so City of Brentwood, Franklin, or whoever, would work with Alex. And if you wanted 5 units on the system or 10 or 20 or whatever the number is, then you just work directly with Alex and pay for that out of your operating budget or however you would do that. It's really cool. I saw Steve Palmer brought a radio up here the other day and took the antenna off of it and was able to talk on the system with no problem, because I guess the Wi-Fi antenna is built into the radio and not on the external piece, and was able to communicate with no issues. Be glad to answer any questions. I'm sure Mike would too.
So just a follow up, and maybe I'll look to John or on this one. I'm just trying to understand, is it something that we would realistically put on every radio, or are we saying it would only be select radios? I'm just a little, operationally a little confused.
I would say any operational in the field radio would probably utilize this, any public safety, police and fire, because if you go into a building that has low LMR coverage and we have to decide a way to encourage the businesses to give us a Wi-Fi SSID that we can put into the radios, because it has to be in the radio before it goes there. And I'm sure we can work with fire on some kind of flyer or something we can push out to businesses that will benefit them and us at the same time. So they don't have to go in and put a bi-directional amplifier in. We can utilize their Wi-Fi to enhance our radio coverage when we're in their area servicing their needs.
Kirk, this is John. I think one of the key things, like Mike said, public safety would be the key. But I think also what's real important is also, like Mike said, we'll probably have to start enforcing the coverage in buildings that we don't have today. There's code in place to do that. I think both Franklin and Brentwood have it in place. Looking at Andy to shake his head yes, if he has that, yes. And so what's going to happen, this could allow us or allow the company a much cheaper way out. BDAs can cost from $20,000 to a couple $100,000 to put in. If they have Wi-Fi that's sufficient, and they would give us an SSI or create a network for us, an SSID. Their infrastructure is already in place. It would be secure. We would probably tell them what we would like to have, try to keep it consistent. But and the schools would be the same way. We'd work with a school system. Once again, for the schools, it's pretty easy to do. It's all controlled from one spot, and we would ask them to give us a certain network to be able to get on. Alex, do you know how many? Are you limited to the number of SSIDs you can put in a radio?
But currently, it's 28, and I believe with the next R release of CPS, it's going to be 126. So it'll drastically increase. But I think today we're limited to 28.
So I think that would be a reason for trying to coordinate with businesses and schools. But it is a cost that would be ongoing, and to me that's the drawback for it. But that's how most businesses models now are going, is subscription going forward to have continual operating cash.
Yeah, no, I'm supportive of it, and I see the benefit. I was just trying to understand the finance part of it, because I don't think we probably accounted for this in either police or fire budget for next year, which has been set, but we can do, and I guess we're only talking portables, not mobiles, of course, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And this just recently came up, so that's why it did not make it into our budget.
Yeah, no, I know, and we can deal with it. I'm just trying to understand the mechanics of it all.
It's not in the county budget either right now. But we would bring on a few units right away and start testing it, and if it's approved. I guess that leads to, we probably ought to get it on the floor. And then we can have more discussion about it if we need to. I think the motion probably ought to be to allow the chairman to execute the contract after legal approval for Smart Connect, and then we can also discuss how we want to pay for it.
I'll make that motion, Bill.
Okay, thank you, Eric. We've got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Was that Chief Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion on the Smart Connect and how to fund it?
Should we clarify in the motion that it to be funded from at least the upfront cost to be funded by technology credit? Is that what, do we need to have that on the record too?
Sure, we should, if that's appropriate. Yes, we will add that to the.
Yeah, I'll add that to the motion.
Okay, you good with that, Chief Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have that amended, and so The motion is to allow the chairman to execute contract for $49,034.40, paying for it out of the technology credit after, of course, legal approval of the contract. Any further discussion? Mike, did you have something?
No.
Okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and put it up for a vote. We'll start with Kirk Bednar,
Aye.
Chief Hughes. Did he? That's all right, we still got a quorum. Chief Goss,
Aye.
Eric Stuckey,
Aye.
Chief Faulkner,
Aye.
Chief Johnson,
Aye.
Sheriff Rhodes,
Aye.
and Bill Jorgensen is aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I think this will be, I know this will be something very useful to all of us, for sure. We'll get that going as soon as possible. Other business, I had meeting frequency on here. So I think I brought up at the last meeting, do we want to continue meeting every month, or would we like to go to every other month, or is there any interest in changing that, or just keep doing every month? Just throw it out there for discussion.
I think every other could work well. I mean, I'm not sure if there's other things that would drive it. We could always add a meeting, but every other month seems like we're at that stage.
Okay.
I'd agree with Eric. Again, with the caveat that if one of the subcommittees has an action item that needs immediate attention, I assume there's the ability to always call a special meeting as needed.
Okay. With that being said, we just need to pick, do we want to do February, April, June, August, October, December, or January, March, May, July, September, November? Now, just know either one of those, December and November, we will probably need to do the third Friday instead of the fourth Friday because of Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Isn't August always a little challenging with the fair and all that going on? Do we want to go with the January approach?
I'm good with either one. The other item, I guess, if we do January, March, May, we would be looking at doing our budget, looking at the next fiscal year's budget in May, which we will be doing next month in June, which is fine also. I don't think that's a problem.
I say we just started in January.
And would you like to, I mean, that's fine. Let's get a motion on the floor to change our meeting schedule to January, March, May, July, September, November on the fourth Friday. Is 9:30 still good?
I'm good with that. I'll make a motion. We do it that way.
Okay, and then the November meeting would be the third Friday? All right, I saw a thumbs up from the sheriff. We've got a motion on the floor, a thumbs up from Eric. Can we get a second on that? Was that a second, Eric?
That's a second.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna start, and we could start this in, I guess, July. Because we're gonna need to meet next month to approve, to look at the FY '22 budget. And then we could start this in July. That sound good? Okay, we got a motion on the floor in a second. We'll go ahead and take roll. Kirk Bednar,
Aye.
Chief Goss,
Aye.
Eric Stuckey,
Aye.
Chief Faulkner,
Aye.
Chief Johnson,
Aye.
Sheriff Rhodes. Sheriff?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. And Bill Jorgensen is an aye. All right, thank you. I think that will help out. And of course, we can have a meeting anytime that we need to call one. I didn't have anything else on the agenda, except that the next meeting is going to be in person. I assume we'll have to social distance at the next meeting, but it will be in person since we can't do electronic meetings any longer. And that's all I had. Does anybody else have anything else for the good of the cause?
Bill, this is John. We had a problem back in when it snowed with our generator, and everybody's got the same problem that we do with the way the generators are wired. If Steve can talk about this for just a second, I think it's something we need to correct.
Okay. Mr. Palmer, you talking about Steve Palmer?
Yes.
Steve Palmer, are you able to discuss the generator challenge that we're facing?
Yeah, we only saw the issue at the Brentwood RF site, but it's possible that it could be at all the locations. What was going on is the core heater that keeps the generator warm so that it can start was on the same circuit as the battery charger, and what we saw happening was when the core heater was taxed from the cold, it caused the breaker to trip, and so the battery charger would go off. It didn't create any alarms on anything until the battery voltage dropped to a point where it would not go into an auto start. So at that point, we had to go and we got the alarm. I went out, found what the issue was, and we were able to reset the breaker. But I had to go up there several times to reset the breaker during the cold spell. So the thing that we're suggesting would be a better approach on this is to run a separate circuit for the core heater so that we weren't we weren't putting as much of a load on that one circuit.
All right, I guess I go back to the original installation, is the draw from the core heater and the battery charger, obviously it's overloading that circuit in Brentwood. Does that amperage draw, I guess, exceed the circuit breaker? Or do we have a charger or a core heater that's malfunctioning and drawing too much amperage?
Well, I would say that under normal circumstances, it's fine because it hasn't happened since we got past the cold spell. It's just when the temperature dropped significantly and they had to heat a lot more, that caused a problem. So I don't think there's necessarily a problem with that. We could have Cummins come out and take a look at it and see if there's an issue with the core heater. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the battery charger at this point. It looks like it was specifically related to the core heater.
Okay.
We could have them do that, or we could. The other option would be to run a separate circuit out to the generator for that for the core heater, so that it wasn't on the same load.
Okay. Can we also check the amperage and make sure we're not, from those two devices, and make sure we're not exceeding the circuit breaker amperage draw?
Yeah, I mean we
Specs.
were during normal time. We're not. Just when we hit that cold spell, and it was heating more. So under normal circumstances, we're not.
Okay.
Steve,
If I may,
if I'm not mistaken, didn't the breaker panel actually have another circuit or label for the core heater or the battery charger below it, but it was both those were put into one breaker?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. They were both put into one breaker. It had two separate lines that were dedicated for those, and they used one breaker for the two.
all right. Well, I would suggest, if it's okay with the board, that Steve and the technology group go back and look at all the sites and reevaluate the one in Brentwood and give a report back to us on either what the solution was to fix it or if they need something else from the board. Does that sound okay, John? Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. thank you for bringing that up.
No problem.
Is there any other business for the Communications Board? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. Y'all have a great weekend.